seated. I read, as I was preparing for today, an interesting saying. Prayer is when we get to speak to God. Scripture is when God gets to speak to us. So, hear this incredibly familiar scripture in two different ways. I'm going to be reading from Genesis chapter 1, verse 1. From first the Message, and then another version from the New International Version. So hear these words. First this, God created the heavens and the earth, all you see and all you don't see. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. So, the question is, what is this all about? We all know the story. God created the heavens and the earth, and then He created plants, and He separated the waters, and He did. So we went on. And then on the sixth day, God created humankind. Now, the big question would be, what does it mean when God created humankind? By creating someone to care for that He created, He actually put a piece of the divine in that being. We now call it us, humans. So, to those of us that now have the God spark, Happy New Year. Many of us are anticipating this new year with hope. Some of us are filled, however, with dread. Either way, here it comes. What are you going to do with it, this gift from God? Right now, we're in the season of Christmas, the time of the year when we focus on this amazing gift from God. When God changed directions by becoming a part of life's fabric in a different way, by coming and dwelling among us as one of us. So today we're going to look at this holy triune expression of God. Now, I specifically decided I'd find a churchy word like triune. So let me define that, because many of us don't know what it means. And for those of you that don't, you can nod like you do. And for those of you that do, this is just rehashing. But I've found that many of us don't ever want to look like we don't know something. So let's just all nod as we know what I'm about ready to say. Triune simply is three. It's a way of saying three, and it talks about the essence of God's expression. So let's look at the entrance of the gift. One of the things I love about today, specifically today in the history, in the year, in the Christian year, is that we get to celebrate the whole story. On one hand, we celebrate Jesus coming to us. We're in Christmas time now. The birth, the Emmanuel. However, it's also the first Sunday of the month. So we also get to celebrate God's ultimate gift, that Christ showed us the very nature and essence of God. So let's start with the first part, God Emmanuel. My brother is an ordained pastor in the Presbyterian Church, and he is right now in Champaign, Illinois. One of the cool things is we grew up in Colorado Springs, Colorado. My father was stationed at NORAD, and so that's where we had an opportunity to grow up. And he wrote an article that ended up being in our home paper in Colorado Springs, as well as in the paper in Champaign. And I'd like to share that article he wrote with you, because it so much poignantly points to what we're talking about today. leave it to a 6-year-old kid to teach us all a lesson about the meaning of Christmas. It's 1975 in Colorado Springs. My brother Keith is a junior high football star with a shelf full of trophies to show for it. But a few days before Christmas, they began to disappear from his room, those trophies. He suspected it was the work of, well, me, or my sister Debbie, who in turn blamed him, which we did, when several of our own treasures and possessions went missing. Mine was not necessarily football trophies, but singing trophies, and my favorite cassette tape recorder. I know, what's a cassette? The family's youngest child, my youngest sister Diane, had no such issues. But then again, all she could talk about leading up to December 25th was that this was the year she learned in Bible study about the real meaning of this season. My brother remembers she told us at one of our family dinners that she had learned that Christmas was about God giving us the ultimate present of all, Jesus. Christmas morning arrives, and we all can't help but notice there's some interesting packages underneath our tree that look like they were wrapped by, well, a 6-year-old. And this is where my brother continues. Diane seemed so excited to give us what she had gotten for us that she handed him his gift first. As he unwrapped it, he only found that she had given to him his all-district football trophy. As my sister Debbie and I unwrapped our gifts, we found out that we were receiving our prized possessions. My parents gave us that if you laugh or make fun of your sister, this will be the worst Christmas of your life look. Diane said that she had given the gifts that she thought were most important to each of us. My brother tried to gently explain. Let me explain the word gently when you're talking about an older brother. So we'll just say gently. Explain that you don't steal other people's stuff to give it back to them. He thought she had missed the real point of Christmas. But had she? She had carefully thought about what was most important to each and every one of us, and then gave it to us at Christmas. At this season, we celebrate that in even more powerful ways. God has done the same for all humanity by giving us the ultimate gift of love in the Christ child. Now, you see, I would challenge my brother with that last statement. Not that God didn't give us the ultimate gift, but was it something that we understood, that we wanted, needed, and cherished? No, God gave us the gift that we strive for, that we long for, that we search for. The completion of the God spark that God planted in us. Remember, God created. Reuniting the pieces and parts back into the one. That's the capital O one. My father always told me that he would see to it that my needs were always met. But that didn't mean I would always get what I wanted, because sometimes I didn't have the perspective to understand what it is I really wanted. It was only when I looked in the rearview mirror that I was able to fully understand the preciousness of the gift I received. How many of you have ever said to your parents, when I grow up, I'm going to eat all the candy I want, and I will also let my kids do the same? Well, the 7, 8, or 9-year-old perspective of ourselves is much different than the 20, 30, 40, and so on perspective. Just as we understand that, how much more does God understand? How much more does God understand what we need? So now we move on to number 2. Our youth leader and Sunday school teacher told me once that what I could do, what I was capable of doing, was God's gift to me, my gifts, my skills. What I did with that was my gift to God. God created and it was good. God created humans in God's own image, meaning He put the divine spark, the divine essence in us. A spark that manifests itself differently in each and every person. So what are you going to do with this spark? How are you going to glorify today? Glorify God. Today, as in every day, we have a chance to connect to the one. And this church can help you achieve that. It is time we stop being spectators and become participants in the creation. It is time we take our God spark and create a world where God's name is exalted, even if it's not spoken. Time for us to be what God created us to be. And now we come to number 3 in the triune, which of course means 3. The perfectness of the Trinity. We are here and know the rest of the story. God completely showed us God's character, and we're still trying to come to grips with it. God showed us love that superseded anything we had experienced or knew here on earth. For God incarnate, on the night He was betrayed, was with His friends. And after supper it ended, He took the bread. He prayed and blessed it. And then He broke it and said, "This is my body broken for you." In the same way, He took the cup, poured the wine into it, and said to His friends, "Drink of this, all of you, for this is my blood shed for you. This is my life that I'm giving to you. This is the essence of the divine which I show to you. For as often as you eat and drink, you will proclaim God's character until the fullness of time."